Hong Kong 50 technical analysis and price prediction. And as you guys know, we normally start off our analysis on the monthly chart and work our way down all the way to about the H4 chart. And yeah, without wasting time, guys, let's get straight into the actual technical analysis. And as I said, we are looking at the HSI index, which is also known as Seng, and we're on the monthly chart. And on this particular chart, just to recap, remember we had last had a conversation about how the market had given us this double top over here, which had a neckline at that point. And as I always say, guys, we're going to see price break into the bottom side of that neckline, come back to the neckline to give it a test, and at that point is where we should have looked for potential sell opportunities. To add to that, we can also see that for the most part this M structure or double top has played itself out, as we now have an opposing structure in the form of a double formation over here, which equally has a neckline more or less at the same level, right? And again, just like with double tops, at this point in time, you want to see the market actually closing above that neckline and then come back to the area to give it a test. And where we have that neckline is where we would look for those further buy opportunities. However, having said that, just bear in mind that at this point in time we actually have, as I said, this area, and not only is it the neckline of this W structure over here, but it is the neckline of this double top, as well as a very strong level of resistance at this point in time. So what may possibly happen at this point is that we may see the market actually head all the way to this point, which is where we have the neckline of this double top as well as this double bottom, and we may see the market actually move further down from there, especially because remember, guys, that whenever we have these double structures, what happens quite often is that a lot of traders and investors buy at that level and they place their stop losses below, right? So in other words, we have a lot of liquidity stuck at the bottom over here in the form of stop losses, and it is quite possible that we may see price reach to that point and then move further down to grab all of those stop losses. However, having said that, just bear in mind that we also have, if I can mark it, we also have this candlestick over here in addition to this one as well. And what these candlesticks are, as you guys can see, are bullish candlesticks with small bodies and long upper wicks, right? And as you know, these are liquidity candlesticks, and they're telling us that we have a lot of liquidity at the top where those candlesticks end, and it's a sign that we may potentially see the market actually give us a structure like this one, where we see the market actually moves further up to grab all of those liquidity points, as well as to complete this huge W structure over here, as you guys can see, right? So you may see price in the future come back to this level, right, which is a very strong level of resistance at this point in time, as we've had multiple rejections in and around that area, as you guys can see. And in the future we may get another rejection at this point, as well as to complete this structure over here. I hope you guys can see that, right? And again, guys, I'm just speculating, right? I'm just speculating and showing you what may possibly happen, and I'm not saying that the markets will unravel in the manner which I've just described, right? Anyway, let's proceed. I'm just gonna add my neckline for this W structure. Just bear with me. So this would be my neckline, and just bear in mind that it's not just the neckline of if I can just mark it, it's not just the neckline of this W structure, it's also the neckline of this double top, right? Remember that, guys. And I said that the market may head to this point only to move further down, right? Anyway, what else do we see in regards to the monthly chart? I don't see much at this point. Sit down to the weekly chart, and to recap again, guys, on the monthly chart we spoke about how the market had given us this huge double structure, and we said that the market may reach this point, which is the neckline of that structure, and at that point we may potentially see the market move further down. To add to that, we also spoke about how we have this huge W structure, and ideally we want to see price closing sufficiently above the neckline and then come back to the area to give it a test, and at that point is where we may potentially look for buy opportunities to around this level over here, which is a very strong level of resistance at this point in time, as we've had multiple rejections, as I said, at that point, right? Anyway, here we are on the weekly chart, And let's just zoom in and see what's happening on the weekly chart. On the weekly chart, we can see now that we also have another overextended double structure over here, right? Or we could call it, if we want to, an inverted head and shoulders pattern, as you guys can see, where this would be the left shoulder, this would be the head, and this would be the right hand shoulder, and we have a neckline over there. And you guys know that whenever we have these patterns, we want to see again price or the market come back to that area to give it a test, and at this point is where we may potentially look for buy opportunities. Anyway, by the way, it doesn't really matter what you want to call it. You can call it an overextended W structure, right, where this would be the first leg and this would be the second leg with a neckline over here. Or as I said, you could call it an inverted head and shoulders pattern. Doesn't really matter. The same principle at the end of the day applies, right? They both have necklines at more or less the same area. Anyway, let's just add that neckline, which is now also a very strong level of support, by the way, right? So here goes our neckline, right? Also, I want to point out that we have this candlestick over here, and it's carrying a lot of liquidity at the bottom where it ends, because it is a liquidity candlestick. And what else do we see, guys, in regards to the weekly chart, right? I don't see much at this point in time, so I'm just gonna head down to the daily chart and let's have a look. And remember again, guys, that on the weekly chart we had a conversation about how the market had given us this pattern, right, which is an inverted head and shoulders pattern, as you guys can see. Or as I said, we could call it an overextended W structure, where that first leg is much lower than the second leg, and both patterns have a neckline more or less in the same area, and we want to see price ideally come back to that area to give it a test. And if it does so, at this point is where we may potentially look for, as I said, buy opportunities. But here we are again on the daily chart. I'm just going to start off by adding my daily channel, and in regards to the daily chart, we can pretty much see that we are in an upward trending market, or an upward trajectory, and for the most part we should, in my very humble opinion, just based on price action, be looking for buy opportunities, keeping in mind that the market has been very strong over the last couple of weeks, right? And we may potentially see the market actually retrace, because this has been very strong. Look at this move to the top, and it's a very steep channel, as you guys can see, and steep channels are easily broken, and this tells us that we need to see a reversal of sorts, right? And speaking of reversals, we also have this area over here. If I can just mark it properly, right, that area is a very strong level of support, and as much as I'm saying that we want to see ideally price come back to this level, it is quite possible that we may only see the market come back to this level to give it a test. And again, at this point is where we may look for potential buy opportunities, but only if we have the right confirmations and confluences, right? So I'm just gonna add a neckline for that area, right? It's a very strong level of, as I said, support. To add to that, we could say that it is also a W structure. I know it doesn't look like one, but it is a W structure, and the same principles that we use in regards to this pattern over here, we could also use here, right? Anyway, let's proceed. What else do we see, guys? Let's have a look. Let's zoom out a bit. I don't see much, but we can also see that we also have this area over here, right? And this area is a very strong level of resistance at this point in time. I'm just gonna mark it. Let's have a look. It's a very strong level of resistance, and we may see the market actually continue from where it is all the way up to around here, and at that point is where we may get a reversal of sorts, right? Let's have a look. Right, so we can see that we've had multiple rejections there, and we may get another rejection in the future and a retracement of sorts, right? Anyway, let's proceed. What else do we see at this point? I don't see much really at this point, so what I'm gonna do is head down to the H4 chart. Before we head down to the H4 chart, just don't confuse this level over here, which is a very strong level of resistance, with this level over here, which is the neckline of that huge W structure, as well as also a very strong level of resistance as well, right? Anyway, as I said, from here I'm just gonna head down to the H4 chart, and here we are on the H4 chart. And what do we see, right? And remember that on the daily chart I spoke about how here we have another W structure. I think it's better visible here, and again it is an overextended W structure, as that first leg is much higher than the second leg, and ideally we want to see the market at least come back to that level. And at this level, as I said, is where we may look for potential buy opportunities, right? Here we are on the H4 chart. What do we see on the H4 chart? I don't see much. I'm just gonna start off by adding my channel. So there goes my H4 channel, and in as far as buy or sell opportunities go at this point, I don't see any. I don't see any buys, I don't see any sells, except that on the H4 I see another level which may be important, which is over here, right? And at this level we can see that we have another overextended W structure, and as much as I'm saying that we want to see the market come back to this level to test it, or even this level, we may actually see it come back to this level only to move further up, right? But yeah, as I said, I don't see any actual opportunity at this point in time. What I want to see happen next is a retracement to this level over here, or this level over here, or to this level, right? And at these levels is where I would look for potential buy opportunities, right? These three levels is where I would look for potential buy opportunities. However, before I buy, I'm going to look for confirmations and confluences. And yeah, just remember to make sure that you practice good money management, and that you thread carefully, especially because we are in earnings season at this point in time. And earnings season is a period in time where in the US a lot of the listed companies have been releasing their results, and these results do have a significant impact on all the indices across the board, even though we're looking at HK50, which is in Asia.